Good
morning and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru, India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. The session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Reactor YouTube channel. I will share the link to our YouTube channel in the chat section soon. Before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Also, please keep your mics muted during the session. I would now like to welcome Jigar, our speaker for today's session. Jigar is a partner and senior solution architect with TechScalable and has 16 years of experience. He has trained more than 25,000 IT professionals across the globe. He is also a Microsoft certified trainer. But for now, I will hand over to Jigar to begin the session. Over to you.
Hey, thanks, Rashmita. Thank you for your wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. Thanks for joining, taking out your precious time, and I hope you guys are doing well during this pandemic situation and taking care, good health of yourself. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. Maybe if you just want, I can adjust my mic accordingly. Just interrupt me any particular time during this entire session. So let's get started as we have limited time and agenda packed for this 1 hour, so we can get started and we can understand the production grade workload, how we can create and what could be best way in terms of creating standard pipeline and having your solutions to be built on top of the ADF, Azure Databricks, and variety of particular Azure services, right? So let's get started. Let me share my screen and I'll just turn off my video so our focus will be on our session and probably we can continue with learning in a step-by-step way. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Let me share my screen. So in today's session, we will have a particular uh, lessons objective, what we are planning, what we are going to understand in today's demo, what are the particular concepts we are going to cover up, and slowly and gradually we will go ahead with particular hands-on demo as well. So in today's session, the objective is to understand what kind of, you can say, a particular production grade workload if you want to create in terms of working with Azure Databricks, a particular Azure Data Factory. What are the different possibilities in terms of using these particular components and Azure Data Lake? So combining these three particular elements, we can create a particular uh, seamless pipeline, which is something nowadays very much in demand. If you guys have heard regarding application point of view a lot that, hey, we are implementing CI/CD pipeline, we wanted to streamline our development processes and all that. So slowly and gradually, the similar kind of activity, of course, I mean, it's not that new. We were not doing it. It is something we were taking care on premise with some SSIS and all that particular tool chain, and we used to write our query language and build some particular procedures and other particular stuff to take care of particular data processing activities and all. Since cloud evolved, the processing in terms of data, automating the activity is something very much in demand. Every enterprise wanted to streamline their particular business processes, their data processes, and they need to get some sort of fine tune result at the end of that particular data process and all, right? Now, if you were part of like any of such activity on premise, then you must have observed that processing data is not that easy. I mean, the reason behind that is the data sources. You may receive data incoming from variety of sources, variety of particular inputs, and at the end you need to aggregate them. You need to convert from raw data to fine tune them, writing some procedures, having your schema in place, and then you get some particular result at the end of the day. Uh, so in such case, like how these particular cloud services gonna beneficial, what kind of options we can follow, what kind of you can say fully managed tool chain available, which helps you or which makes your life easier to process your particular data and create a streamline pipeline throughout the life cycle what we have, right? So that is something we're gonna understand in our particular section. So uh, during this particular session, definitely I'll be sharing one hands-on link as well, where you guys can perform some particular activity on top of it, and you can work with that particular activity. So at the end of the session, so takeaway is that you guys will get some particular hands-on activity, and you can get started with this particular creating pipelines, streamline those pipelines with Databricks notebooks, and automating your particular workflows and activities throughout the life cycle, right? So let's get started. This is basically our overall learning objectives, what we are planning to go ahead. Now, before starting, why we need these particular tool chain? What are the on-premise challenges most of the enterprises were facing, and they just wanted to eliminate those particular challenges with modern tool chain and modern services where they can uh, bring their enterprise grade workloads, automate their particular activities, and streamline all the data processing into the system. So traditionally, I mean, if I want to consider, just wanted to quick highlight that if it is on-premise, then definitely there are couple of elements which is something like bothering or probably a kind of challenges, what I can say from the enterprise point of view. Let me quote a use case. So, in one of the enterprise grade consulting project when I was involved, so the problem statement was like this. So, enterprise had a particular restaurant chain, right? They are basically a leading parent company of the multiple restaurant chain. So, you know that nowadays there are so many restaurant chains are there. You can name it like McDonald's, Subway, or there are many. And they have some parent companies who manage their particular restaurant chain business and all that. Now, the objective over here is that whenever they are planning to launch a new restaurant in a specific demographic location, they wanted to identify and validate that what kind of food products or food items can be sellable, what kind of customers they can expect, what will be the price, what will be the season where they can launch a particular food item or products in that particular locations, and which give them profitable business at the end of the day, right? Now, if you imagine in a traditional way, setting up such environment, setting up a particular infrastructure for that restaurant chain to maintain is something quite challenging, right? I mean, you need to come up with some POS locations, you need to build the softwares and applications and backend systems to process the data and all that stuff. Now, slowly and gradually, the challenges what they were facing was that the on-premise infrastructure, they were getting into you can say data center contracts, and they extend their lease, and they were managing somehow their particular infrastructure on-prem. Now, definitely the customer based out in a different location, the restaurant chains are based out in different locations. These are some common problems they started facing. So one of the cost parameter, because end of the day, you need to figure it out that what kind of infrastructure stack you need to take care of that particular platform, right? So that is something, one of the biggest challenge that when it comes to on-premise data center and all, definitely you must have observed that capex versus opex kind of challenges and all, right? So a lot of capital investment expected, despite of having high demand, low demand. Considering all that particular use case, you need to think about that how you're gonna add your particular infrastructure stack. The other challenges is the scalability. As I said, that if I'm looking at certain kind of scalability for my business use case, the infrastructure which is up and running with my particular processes and all. So in such case, definitely with volume and velocity of my particular data, the scalability is always the challenges. We need to think about that. If in case, let's assume that there are some festive season going on, and customers started visiting a particular restaurant a lot with some specific food demand and all, and you just need to make sure that the raw material and all that thing, the supply chain works effectively in that particular case. So you are analyzing such data, you are gathering those particular informations, that what will be the customer choice, what will be the data they are, what kind of order they are putting, what are the favorite food item they are ordering, and all that stuff, right? So you need to think about that, since the data is ingested into the system with volume and velocity, like how the backend system, which is something expected as unscalable, depend on the workloads. You can have some better visibility around how the data is going to be processed and integrated with that particular system. Also, at the same time, you are expected to go ahead with some data integration. So definitely, uh, whatever the data is getting ingested, it is not just only in a raw format, but after that raw format, you are planning to do some particular data massaging on top of it, and at the end you wanted that particular data to be integrated with some different business tool chain, right? It could be your reporting mechanism, it could be some other third party applications where your data is getting ingested and you just wanted to process them as per the business what you're looking at it. And you need some seamless integration with those particular tool chain, right? I mean, I have seen like many enterprises on premise, if it is, then they come up with some own custom layer development where the data is aggregated, stored somewhere in a centralized location. They build on top of another applications, another solutions to process the data, and probably come up with their own particular solutions to play around with that. And last but not least, in terms of reliability, that the infrastructure what is implemented to take care of that particular kind of workload is something always kind of challenges on-prem, because you have limited infrastructures, depend on the contract, depend on the lease what you have, or what do you say, the planning what you have from the infrastructure point of view. Again, security, network, many of the performance. It may be possible that you are expecting some high config instances, but due to limitation or the contract, you may get a particular size only, and that could be a challenge, because you are planning to process certain kind of data, and because of the limitations, you are not able to do it. So these are some, I can say, a kind of traditional challenges what enterprises facing on premise. And slowly and gradually the thought process came up along with cloud services, that you can move your particular enterprise grade data processing activities into cloud. And at the same time, the advantage is that the tool chain or the services come up with variety of features they offer, and minimize a lot of manual activities with plug and play features. You have some particular UI based activity. You have simple example, for example, Azure Data Factory is offering a particular ADF studio, right? So that studio is basically, it's a fine grain UI where you can simply just connect and you can create your particular data workflow, and you can streamline your particular data processing out of the box. So here the advantage is that, rather I can say, the futuristic services came up with the cloud services, and those particular elements we can plug and play, and we can create our standard data pipeline, make it as an convert it as an DevOps kind of activity, and we can streamline our data processing out of the box. As I was mentioning that many of the enterprises, or you must have heard about like from the application developer that hey, when application development comes into picture, we take care of our CI/CD pipeline, we automate our code deployment, we automate our deployment processes, and we do have some environment based deployment, right? So dev stage, prod, and all that particular stuff. So something similar to that, if we are looking into the data platform point of view, then what will be the best way? What kind of like objective we can think through, how we can go ahead and probably if I wanted to achieve the similar kind of activity over here, then what will be the scope? What kind of like objective we can think through and we can take care of with those particular services. So here I would like to go ahead and talk about some of the tool chain, which is something quite extensive in terms of working on those particular component, having your uh, having configuring your particular streamline environment and making sure that whatever the data processes and analytics you are looking at it is something we can take care of it, right? So at the end, we gonna take a look at it, a particular hands-on activity where we are going to create a particular sample pipeline along with Azure Data Factory, a data pipeline, and we're gonna create a particular notebook-based activity on top of it. So starting with Data Factory, Databricks. So Databricks, in terms of Azure point of view, so Azure Databricks offers a particular seamless integrated Azure data storage environment, and it also offers a kind of specialized connectors for data processing and making sure that you can have simplified way to manage your data platform across your particular multiple environments, right? So here the advantage is that when we are planning that what kind of data process and other particular management activities what we are looking at it. So here I can say that from the uh, data factory may have multiple integration available, right? So as I mentioned, one of the problem or challenges is that the data integration, right? So you need a particular services which offers you a seamless integration with multiple services or data sources, and then you can have some particular data management in place. So here I can consider that you can have ADF, data lake store, even you can go ahead with simple blob storage. If you are looking at some sort of event hub kind of activities, that is something what you can plan it out, or you can have some Cosmos DB. So here I would like to call out one example. So there was one enterprise, and they were planning to now in this pandemic situation, so we all know that the demand of N95 mask goes very high, right? Everybody's like using day in day out, and the organization was looking for some sort of building that particular mask with some low what do you say, the production of that particular mask will be up to date. So for example, if they are making in a minute, if they are making 1,000 masks, they wanted to reduce the wastage, right? So for example, you can imagine that if 1,000 mask is getting built, maybe out of that the problem statement was 250, 300 mask was like wastage, and they were getting like 600, 700 as a quality mask. So the expectation from the solution, or maybe you can say the activity expected that, hey, we wanted to reduce the wastage. So we wanted to collect the data points from different processes when the mask is getting built. What all the different stages or phases it is going with the process, which process is impacting a particular wastage or not getting the quality mask at the end of the process, and they just wanted to collect the data. So the solution built on top of the Event Hub, because it was the live streaming, live data was incoming. So you can imagine that the process was built in top of it, and definitely there were some sensors kept at each stages. And when the production was happening of that mask, it is going through with each phases, and at the end the fine product come out of it, and the data was triggered through that event hub, sent it to the backend system, and it was like captured in a way. So of course you can consider that Event Hub is also one of the particular data source, and it is getting ingested or integrated with a particular data brick. So whatever the data is getting ingested, it was getting processed based on the business logic written with that. And it was a kind of you can say reporting that at which particular stage what will be they have set some particular benchmark for each particular processes, and they were measuring that okay, at the end of this particular process, what is the quality of that particular mask. So based on that benchmark, if that particular mask is going below that benchmark, then they need to fix that particular problem statement, and they can identify how they can increase the quality of that particular step, and they can increase the productivity of that particular mask. So you can imagine that there are variety of use case, there are variety of particular business solutions you can think through, whereas Databricks become a kind of management activity in between, integrated management activity, and it will allow you to process your particular data along with streamlined process, and you can simply go ahead with certain kind of activities the way it is expected. So ultimate goal is that you need to figure it out what kind of integration you are looking at it, what kind of business use case you are planning to take care of it, and you can plan your overall activity throughout the life cycle. Now, along with this data bricks, you can have a particular ADF. So ADF is one of the core component in terms of creating your particular data pipelines, right? So for example, the option which I was talking about, right, from the restaurant chain point of view. So if I wanted to like explain a little bit with diagrammic view, so you can think through that when it comes to such kind of data integration and all. So you can imagine that there are different particular restaurant locations. Probably you can say that demographically there might be a different restaurant chain, and they were serving their food from that different particular locations. Now looking at the enterprise or looking at the parent organization of that restaurant chain management, I wanted to see that which food item getting sell in which particular location, what will be the marketing approach. I can go ahead and plan my pricing, I can offer some particular combos, I can come up with some particular nice pricing tier for them. I just wanted to analyze those particular data. Now I wanted to also capture my customer likes, dislikes. I also wanted to capture my customer data in terms of what kind of like are they specially coming on occasionally or every day, or they have some particular celebrations going on and they're visiting my restaurants. So I just wanted to keep track of those particular data. So definitely you can consider that data is getting ingested from each of the restaurant, right? And you can consider that whatever the information is coming, I just wanted to make sure that this particular informations will get aggregated. I just wanted to make sure that before ingesting into any analytics, I just wanted to make sure that it is something streamlined. The data, what is coming into a raw format, I just wanted to aggregate in between, and then I just wanted to push it into my particular system. So, or probably you can say the data is getting dumped somewhere in my system. Before that, I just wanted to streamline them, and I just wanted to provide them as an analytic. So here you can say that whatever the restaurant chain is ingesting the data, maybe here I can have a particular ADF, which is something I call it out as an uh, the way I have mentioned in the slide that it's code-free ETL as a service. So the advantage what you're gonna get is that with the ADF, you will be ingesting your particular data. You can create your particular standard pipeline with the help of this particular data processing. You can visualize that particular data along with that EDF. You can provide, I mean, you can ingest the data, you can create the pipeline, and you can process that particular data as and when required. And that raw data aggregated with ADF, and then it is going to be ingested to your maybe you can say any of the database, what kind of formats you are looking at it. You can go ahead with DB, you can go ahead with AIML kind of processing, or probably you can have ADL as in data storage. Depend what kind of like storage activities you are expecting. You can go ahead and you can plan your overall activity throughout the life cycle. So it's more about you can say there are different phases when we go ahead with the ETL process. That is something you can consider it as an ingest. You can consider it as in prepare and train your particular data. You can serve the data, all that particular different processes you can build on top of it and you can execute it. So here I can assume that whenever I have a particular kind of business requirement, the way I gave example, right? Maybe another use case I can think of, like let's say gaming platforms. So they were expecting from the business point of view that, hey, what all the games people were playing a lot, from which demographic locations, and what is their preference, what kind of like dislikes, and what they likes in terms of game characters or game elements, and many aspects might be part of it, right? So in that case, you can plan your overall activity, you can play around with the data, and the flow which is expected, the way you wanted to take care of your particular data processing and all that, is something you can streamline. So here I can say the way we are building our application DevOps lifecycle, something similar to that, you can come up with your particular data pipeline as well. So which will helpful to you in terms of ingesting your particular data, connecting with the services, having your particular uh, data pipeline in that particular place, and you can play around with the overall activity the way it is expected into this particular system, right? So you need to plan it out that what and the advantages over here. So as I was giving the example of the restaurant chain, so uh, they were keep coming up with some or the other new attributes towards their data processing, right? Say for example, uh, initially they started creating pipeline and schema with the example that, okay, we wanted to see the standard data collection from our restaurant chain, which is something aligned with you can say a kind of data ingestion into the system. They go ahead and play around with the services. They can collect the standard restaurant informations and process those particular informations throughout the life cycle. Now let's say tomorrow a business comes and say that, hey, we wanted to keep a track of festival activities, so and so. Let's say the new year is coming up, we wanted to keep a track of that particular time frame and gather the information and ingest the data accordingly and have some parameters accordingly and analyze the data on top of it. So definitely the advantage over here is that it's a seamless integration. You can simply go ahead with your data factory, add your additional parameters and the schema structures what you are expecting, and then you can have a particular throughout the life cycle the activity to be triggered accordingly, right? So the advantage is that here the overall activity you will get it as an Azure Data Factory wizard. It's a kind of studio. We will take a look at it in a while, and then we can perform those activity in a step-by-step manner, right? So let me see if you guys have any questions before moving to the next slide. Okay, there is a question from Krish. What kind of action should be performed by Databricks? So, just to give you a quick answer, I mean, you can create your particular Databricks to define your notebooks, and those notebooks are going to be activity notebooks, and those notebooks are going to be aligned throughout the process of your particular Databricks. So, whatever the parameters and input what I'm expecting is something defined with that, and I can plug and play those particular activity with that, right? So in general, so we will see that in a practical, so you will see it in a while. But yeah, in general, this is something helpful in terms of creating your notebooks, integrating that particular Databricks along with that data processes, and that data process is going to be inherited, or you can say exposed to some particular other tool chain in that throughout the life cycle, right? So here the other component, enterprise grade storage available in terms of Azure Data Lake Store. So Azure Data Lake Store is something applicable in terms of you can say you will get enterprise grade storage. It will simplify your big data storage. You can dump petabytes and petabytes of data, and behind the scene it will helpful to you in terms of analyzing those particular activity, right? So you can come up with your choice of your analytics language, and that is something you can implement the way you want it. So for example, if you see the usql, so usql is a kind of a query language which is something similar, not exactly the same, but I can say something similar to T-SQL, right? So if you guys are familiar with writing your query strings and all that stuff with your SQL server and all, you must have seen a similar kind of approach with usql as well. The advantage is that it works combined with C sharp and all that. So if you're looking at certain kind of visualization and query processing on top of your data, you can do so. Of course, I mean, you have a choice. You can simply go ahead with Apache Sparks and other particular toolchain as well. So definitely, I mean, you can store variety of data on top of it. As I mentioned, that petabytes and petabytes of data you can capture, and then at the end you can play around with that particular data processing out of the box. Now, if I want to visualize all these tool chain together, right? So as Krish asked questions, that what could be the scenario we can think through from the Databricks point of view. So if you see that the example which I was giving from the data ingestion point of view from the restaurant chain, right? So if I'm looking at certain kind of data, certain kind of activity in terms of processing my particular data, and the data is getting ingested from my restaurant chain. Of course, I mean, it's not just restaurant chain. I have picked up that example at the beginning, so I'm just continuing with that same. But yeah, there are many use cases you can think through, and you may have a particular data ingested in terms of variety of sources. You may ingest your particular data with variety of sources, and that could be structured, unstructured. The types of data incoming is vary, right? Now, if we are going ahead with ADF, where we're gonna create a particular simple data pipeline, we will create that workflow with that. Of course, you can have a particular data lake store in between once the data is getting processed. So, for example, as I mentioned that I just wanted to capture my restaurant chain data and aggregate them into one particular location with some standard processing of data format and all that. So I can do it with my ADF. I can push that particular into my data lake store, and my Databricks basically plug and play or integrate with that particular storage, and it helps me to perform some analytics on top of it, right? So kind of data processes and other stuff will be part of it, and you can have some better integration with that. So ultimate goal over here is that you need to plan it out, the workflow, and at the end the data is getting ingested into any of your particular system. So probably you can simply go ahead that, okay, if I have any Kubernetes cluster. So the example which I was giving, that AKS one, right? So it was uh, that customer has a complete integration with Kubernetes cluster. They had a Databricks purchased as an you can say, so there are multiple pricing tiers are available, right? Pay as you go, and you can also consider that reserve instance kind of thing, and also they purchase a kind of reserve instance kind of component, and at the end the data is getting processed, the data is getting served to some particular backend systems where they wanted some reportings to be generated, custom reportings and all that, and that was getting like provided to the senior managements and top managements and all that. So definitely the role of Databricks is to give you a kind of analysis in between, right? And then basically that data is getting ingested into variety of tool chain, and you may have some different activities to be visualized. As I gave the example of that mask, the N95 mask making organization, they just wanted to keep a track of that, which particular phase of mask creation is going into wastage, or which process is like impacting the good quality of that mask. So probably those data is getting ingested, stored, and processed into my Databricks, and that basically directly shared with my Power BI reports, and I can visualize that, hey, uh, so and so process is basically really impacting our mass production. Let's go and fix that, and then probably restart the process accordingly. So in general, you can say that the overall objective is to provide you a kind of enterprise grade data processing. You can have that batch process continuously integrated with Data Factory and multiple component, the toolchain what you are expecting, and that's basically one of the straightforward options to play around with your data out of the box, right? So we will give it a try in terms of working with this particular activity. You will see a particular learn module link in your chat window, right? So if you guys can take a look at it in your Teams chat, you have this particular link, which is something creating ADF pipeline with Databricks activity. So as I said that whatever the activity we are expecting. So if I want to consider this way, let me go back to diagram and explain it. So if I want to consider it this way, let's say I'm planning to go ahead and uh, let me add another page. So if I'm planning to create, usually what you have is that you will come up with your data lake store, right? And you will say that you will have silver, sorry, not straightforward silver, but it starts with bronze, silver, and gold, right? Now you have the processes, your data is getting processed from one flow to other flow, right? And during this particular activity, what we're gonna do is that we will have a particular ADF in place, Azure Data Factory, and behind that particular Azure Data Factory, we will create a particular, you can say, a Databricks element. So you will have a particular activity, notebooks and other stuff defined with the Databricks, and this particular processes are like constant throughout the life cycle of your particular data process. So in my Azure Data Factory pipeline, I will integrate my Databricks. I will create my notebook activity, whatever the parameters and other structures I wanted to define, I can create it, and at the end I can have my particular desired data at the end of the entire process. So I can say that the pipeline is something consists of Databricks elements into it, and your ADF is allowing you to, like, via the ADF Studio, you will be creating a complete pipeline, and you can integrate these particular processes out of the box. So here I can have my ADL, I can have my data factory, and I can have my Azure Data Bricks in place, which is allowing me in terms of creating a streamlined pipeline throughout the life cycle the way I'm expecting, right? Make sense? So this is basically a consistent layer throughout the data processing. Whatever the informations we have, maybe whatever the raw data is coming in your bronze stage, you're gonna process it, fine tune it, getting into silver, again you enhance, getting into gold, and throughout that life cycle, you can have this entire process to be get going, right? Now, just to straightforward go ahead with the activity. So here, uh, the link which was shared along with you, you guys can go ahead and create this production grade workload on Azure Databricks with Azure Data Factory, right? So for example, I mean, here the steps are given for your activity. You only need a simple, you can say, particular UI or Azure subscriptions in place, and you can simply go ahead and create your particular activity throughout the life cycle. So step-by-step activities there. So for example, if I'm going ahead quickly with my Azure portal, so let me open up Azure Data Factory. Oh, sorry. Let's say create resource and search for Data Factory. I'll just simply create this particular resource. So here, let me choose my subscription, resource group creation. So in this particular step, what we are planning to do is that we're gonna have our different elements to be created. So let's say data bricks learning path. That's my resource group name. I'll keep it as an issues as in region. Name of the services. So I'll just say ADF hyphen Databricks PL. Here there are some particular versions. So basically, I mean, as you know that since cloud is getting keep growing, so you will see the enhancement in the API or the backend features. So definitely always try to use latest and greatest with the recommended one. So I'll go ahead with version 2. Git configuration. Right now, I am not doing it. If in case if you are going ahead with some particular predefined Git integrations throughout the life cycle, you can do so. You can play around with it, and you can plan that integration later stage. Yeah, I mean that is always possible. Uh, let's go ahead simply review and create. So if all validation pass, then you can simply create the steps of data factory. Now, let's do one thing. Meanwhile, the data factory is getting created. We will also create a particular component as in data factory, Databricks, as I mentioned that we wanted to create that combinations, creating data factory pipeline integrated with Databricks activity along with that notebook, and then we can continue with the processing and all that. So meanwhile, this data factory get created, we will go ahead and say Databricks. So here I'll say create, and you can see that the turnaround of the service provisioning is quite faster. So here I'll create Databricks workspace. Okay. And yeah, let's give some name to this Databricks. So I'll say ADF ADP PL. Let's try to create in the same location. Pricing tier. So you have a particular different pricing tier applicable. Standard one is connecting along with Apache Spark and secure with Azure AD. Now the advantage over here is that whenever you're gonna create your particular secure pipeline, the data Azure Active Directory provides identity access management on top of it. So if you are willing to create some role-based activity for your users or the people who are working on your particular overall project, and you just wanted to create some sort of activity out of the box, so that is something what you can plan and you can integrate with it, right? So I can say that okay, I'm just looking at to go ahead with the premium plus role-based access control, right? So this is something what we can create. And yeah, I think right now I'm just going ahead with as is and say review and create. If in case if you're willing to create some networking and you wanted to create some secure channel with it, you can do so. So definitely, I mean, there are many enterprises who wanted to make sure that their connectivity with the services or integration or pipeline, whatever they are going ahead with the transaction, they just wanted to make it secure. So definitely you can plan your private network and then your services are going to be integrated accordingly. Say for example, my AKS cluster supposed to connect with my Databricks via my private WAN, then I can create my virtual network in between. My AKS definitely can connect over that VNet and connect to my Databricks to get my particular data. So I just wanted to keep it private. That's something very well possible, and you can establish similar kind of connectivity out of the box. So let's click on create and let this service is getting created. So what we are going to do is that once the data brick, the component is getting created, we're going to create a particular workspace inside that with cluster. So that cluster will be maybe you can say depend on the node, what all the nodes we wanted to scale when the data is getting ingested and the processes are happening. So what will be the capacity we wanted, what will be the configurations we are planning to attach to it. Here the advantage is that it's a fully managed platform, so you don't need to worry about like in terms of scalability and other stuff. And as I mentioned that you can also go ahead with some either you can go ahead with pay as you go, or you can go ahead with reserve instance as well. So that will definitely help you in terms of saving cost as well, right? So especially the business domain requires that a lot of data processing behind the scene, then they can simply go ahead with a kind of reservation, and then they can prefer a kind of activity to make sure they can save a cost on top of the usage of that particular infrastructure, and then you can have analytics in place as well. So let's wait for a few minutes for this. Meanwhile, let me see if you guys have any questions or queries. But yeah, I mean, if you guys wanted to play around with it, as I said, that the link what you have received in your chat window, definitely you guys can use that link for your activity, and that will help you to step by step create this entire workflow, and you can ingest the data out of the box, right? Yeah, let's wait for a few minutes. So once this ADF is getting provision, and at the same time the Databricks is getting provision, so I'll show you that we're gonna have mapping of ADF along with Databricks. We will create a particular workspace with Databricks. We will create a particular notebook inside the Databricks, and that is something going to be attached to my ADF pipeline. So whatever the activity, whatever the process we are planning to go ahead is something taken care over here. So the way I mentioned over here that you will have your particular notebooks created in this particular location when the ADF studio, and we're gonna have a cluster created. So in Databricks, you will be defining a particular cluster, and that specific cluster is something you can create a specific size of instance. What will be the number of instance you wanted, which basically take care of your data processing at the back end and give you some sort of simplified way to data processing behind the scene. And once the data is getting processed, you need some, so basically you're going to define input and output, right? So your input will be whatever in the form of, and you're going to have a specific output at the end of that particular data process. So you're going to have that specific process, and along with this ADF, you can monitor the activity. If in case anything gets failed, you will track that, okay, because of what reason it may get failed. So all that monitoring and authentication, that as I said that uh, basically along with the identity access management, you can have valid authentications and activities to be supported throughout the life cycle. So ultimate goal over here is that, yep, my Databricks get created. So if I go to the source, so here in my Databricks, my like service got created. We will go to the launch workspace, and this workspace, under this we are going to create the nodes, which is something allowing me to process my data, or whatever the configurations I'm expecting at the backend is something provided by this particular workspace configurations and all. So we will simply go ahead with workspace. Now the first activity is to create a cluster. So let me click on create new cluster. You can give a cluster name, so that could be anything. I mean, choice of yours, like what kind of component you are planning to create. So I can say my ADF cluster. Here you have cluster mode is given, high concurrency, standard, or single node. Now since we are doing it for demo activity, so you can simply create along with single node, right? Because right now it is just for testing purpose, so don't need to go ahead with high-end machine. Otherwise, like, the charges will be applicable accordingly if I say high configurations and all. So if you see over here, BBU per hour, it's 16 to 18, so you will get 2 to 8 workers, and they have very high capacity and configurations towards the machine, right? So right now, just for testing purpose, we don't need to spend that much money behind that. But yeah, if in case anything as such, you need production grade workload and you have high volume of data incoming, then as we discussed earlier, that it will helpful to you in terms of configuring the scalability accordingly. So right now I'll go ahead with very bare minimum requirement. Runtime environment, what will be the Databricks runtime environment? So we will keep the lowest one right now, TLS Scala 7.3 and Spark version 3.0. So right now I'm just going ahead with this. Of course, I mean, depend on your workloads, what kind of workloads and activity you are planning to follow. You can pick and choose your Databricks runtime environment as well. Termination is something here given, right? So I just wanted to terminate probably after, instead of 120, let me keep it 45 minutes. If inactivity is like after 45 minutes there is no activity, then just terminate the uh, activity in terms of data processing and all that, right? So if you see some cluster related activities, so here you are creating that cluster. So let's click on create. Now, once this cluster is getting created, we're gonna create now data factory pipeline. We're gonna schedule a Databricks jobs that is going to be triggered within my data factory pipeline. As I explained in that small diagram, that you're gonna have a ADL in place probably, and you just wanted to transform your particular data, or you want to run the job on your data that moving from bronze to silver, silver to gold, and you just wanted to process. Then along with ADF, I'll be creating that particular steps and structure. So throughout the life cycle, my Databricks helping me to create that or schedule that job, and I can execute along with that, right? So your ADF, it's your cloud-based ETL, and it allows me to integrate the entire data-driven workflows, orchestrating my data movement amongst these particular services, right? So once this cluster gets created, the next step is to we are going to configure the workspace activities. We're going to define some permissions and other stuff. Now here, when you just a quick note, when you guys are following up with this particular steps, okay, say for example, you go ahead and like work with the activity. So couple of updates. So for example, here it says that user settings. Now when you are in your workspace, in your Databricks workspace, so maybe you will see those settings somewhere on the left hand side. So don't get confused in that, okay, oh, you have to go to somewhere right hand side and you try to search, right? So just like quick heads up that when you're configuring, it may be available on the some UI changes might be there. So you just have to take care of that. So let this cluster get created, and then we can go ahead with our settings where we need to plan our user settings that we are going to create a particular access token to connect with this particular cluster securely. Okay, so whenever any specific user wanted to connect and access or execute the task, they can simply go ahead and connect with this cluster securely. So we are just planning to create a security token along with it, and then user can connect and access this Databricks component. So I'll go to settings, user settings. You have generate new token. So I can say this token is for what? So let's say data factory token and say generate. Make sure that you copy this. Let me put it in a text edit somewhere so that we can use it later, right? So once you have a token in place, now the time to connect with your particular data factory studio. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that we will go back to our ADF. I'll go to my Databricks, sorry, data factory, and inside my data factory, now again a small update. If you take a look at it in your UI, okay, so here it's written authentication and monitor. Okay, whereas in update with the portal, here you will see that open Azure Data Factory Studio, where you will see the authoring and monitoring as a separate component or separate UI available. So yeah, this is, I mean, don't get confused. I mean, don't try to search that where it is authoring and monitoring is written. It is just that updated version over here. So you can just open that ADF Studio, and once the ADF Studio is in place, we can simply go ahead and configure or link the pipeline services in our ADF activity. So Data Factory allows you to configure your step-by-step element over here. You can have a simple pipeline to be created. So yeah, there you go. So here we're gonna have a couple of elements, right? We wanted to monitor, we wanted to go ahead with authoring and all that particular stuff's given to you. Correct. So you have manage options. First of all, under the manage options, you have link services, and under that link services, you're gonna create a new element. And under the new, here we will go ahead with Azure. Okay, and under the Azure, sorry, compute, and we can say Databricks. Click on continue. So when you're creating integration with Databricks, definitely you can provide a proper naming convention that which Databricks cluster you are planning to integrate, the description of it, how you wanted to plan or execute this particular activity, right? So here you can say that, hey, I just wanted to keep it everything as is. Subscription under which your activity is running, make sure that you select. I wanted to execute this particular Databricks workspace with my existing interactive cluster. So this feature basically allows you to select your data factory along with your Databricks component, and you need to make sure that you securely paste your access token. So here I can say copy the token, put it over here so that I can have a secure connectivity and access, and it is going to verify my existing cluster. You will see that cluster which we have created is something now pop up into the Dropbox. So you can simply select that. So this is basically a kind of integration. What we are doing, we have created our ADF steps, and we have mapped with our data factory along with Databricks, and you can simply click on create, right? So this is going to be This particular steps is going to allow you in terms of creating your integration with your Databricks. Now, another thing, we just need to go ahead and configure or author a particular pipeline. So in your particular pipeline, you will be creating particular activities and pipelines to be created. So here you can say, okay, I just wanted to simply go ahead and create my pipeline. And here you have Databricks and notebook. So I'll just simply drag and drop this notebook over here. Okay. And this is basically like a simple mapping of your Databricks notebook into your ADF pipeline. And then you can simply go ahead and create that pipeline in a step-by-step way. Yep, just hang on for a few more minutes. I know it's already, we are close to the time. Uh, Okay, so what we need to do is that uh, we just need to go ahead. We are planning to go ahead and configure our notebook activities. Okay, so when you are in your workspace and everything, what you need to do is that you need to import your workloads and everything, right? I mean, when you're going ahead with your Databricks activity and all, you just need to go ahead and activate those particular activity. So if your UI is not open, maybe you can simply go ahead along with your Databricks. Again, launch Workspace, or else you can open it from left hand side as well, right? And what you need to do is that you just need to select your workspace, and inside that workspace you will be going ahead with users, and underneath you just need to select your existing users and say import. And here we'll be using a particular importing of our notebook. So what I suggest is that right now for this exercise you have a notebook URL given to you. I mean, just for practice, you guys can simply use this GitHub URL, and that is something you can map it in your activity and say import. So this is something going to import the particular record run kind of notebook. So I mean, if you guys just wanted to view this particular notebook, you can do that. It has some particular code and other particular structure is written, so maybe you can simply view this notebook and you can integrate that, right? So right now my notebook is in place. Okay, now we will go back to our data factory pipeline, because here is the notebook and we just wanted to integrate that particular activity over here, right? So we can just simply select the notebook. Okay, and here is the Databricks and settings are given to you. So I can select my Databricks. Okay, even settings also I can click on browse, and here I'll go to the users who uploaded that particular notebook. I'll go to my user, and I'll select my record run and say okay. So we are just importing that specific notebook, and we will pass some particular parameters in my Databricks. So you have your particular notebook imported, and as a base parameter I'll pass that. Okay, I just wanted to add a parameter, let's say ran by, and value I just wanted to give it as an ADF, right? So that's basically the value. Now the last step is we have done almost all configurations. We just need to simply publish our pipeline, because without publishing this activity will not getting integrated, right? So you, it's like saving all the workflow, and you just wanted to trigger your particular activity. So just simply click on publish. So it will save all your configurations which you have created in pipeline. Right now we have just created single activity, but yeah, I mean, when you have enterprise grade workload and you just wanted to create multiple stuff, then this is something you're gonna have it in place, right? So once this is done, the last step is to trigger that. So here you can say add trigger and say trigger now and click on OK. So my ADF will get triggered. Now, how you gonna monitor that? What is the step or the pipeline which you have already triggered is something inside the ADF Studio. You have that particular monitoring options available. So right now, if you see, the pipeline is getting triggered, manual triggered, because right now it is not scheduled and all. If you want, you can schedule it, you can trigger the task and it will go in a step by step way. So right now it is getting triggered and we will just wait for some particular activity to be report back into the monitoring activity. So you can consider that if you have multiple pipelines and you just wanted to trigger particular data and execute them, you will monitor them in a sequence and it will show you a complete input, output, what all the job details are happening behind the scene. All that monitoring activities you will see under that particular studio. So right now the status is in progress. Once it is something, it will show you a complete status like fail, success, or anything. I mean, you can visualize that. If all goes good, then you will see that particular result at the end of this entire activity. So that's basically a kind of overall execution what we have done so far, and that is something allowing you to create a particular a production grade pipeline which will allow you to see that entire activity in a specific flow, right? So yeah, I mean, that's majority of the you can say exercise where we create the entire. So if you see now the status is getting changed, return or consumptions, and you will see like in a meanwhile the details as well. There is one more icon will be come up. So these icons are getting keep on updating, right? So that's something you will get it in that specific sequence. Okay. So yeah, I think okay. So now you will see, unfortunately, my pipeline got failed. So here you will see the details. You will see the information. So what is like, what could be the error? Why? Because of this particular activity got failed. So it will show you a complete informations, right? And this is something a kind of detail insight regarding the overall activity what you have performed. So if you see that some illegal argument exception is given and because of that this job may get failed. So when we are importing some particular uh, the activity, it may be possible that some informations are not given accurately, then it will be an issue. So if you see the parameters and other stuff what we have passed, it is something given in that specific sequence, and at the end it was processing that specific data out of the box. So ultimate goal is that you will have a complete detail, you will have a complete monitoring information throughout the life cycle, and that's basically a kind of overall uh, data factory related activity. You can create a pipeline and you can execute the overall workflow the way it is expected. Yeah. So let me see if you guys have any questions. But yeah, I mean, this is something more or less like the pipeline what you can create. You can have the step-by-step activity to be followed, and at the end you can have a complete successful activity to be like completed. Yeah. So let me see if you guys have any questions. Okay, so there is a question. Can you brief the categories of data, bronze, silver, gold? So, so just to answer to your questions, you can imagine that when we say bronze, silver, gold, if I want to simplify in a layman language, right? So usually when you get the data ingested into the system, we have you can say bronze is like very raw data coming into the system, whereas you are planning to aggregate or you are planning to filter at certain level and put it at next stage so that you can take it from there and you can enhance the data quality at the end of the day. So in a layman language, I can say bronze, silver, gold is like kind of dev test prod. So bronze is more about like raw data. So you can imagine that if I have a restaurant data coming, so all three or all five restaurants, they all are ingesting data. Now information is coming like location, food choice, maybe you can say the festival seasons or holiday or whatever the information is coming. I just wanted to streamline that information. So I may write my what do you say, the data processing or analytics activity in a way that, hey, if data category fall into so and so category, normalize them, filter them and store it into this particular format in silver uh, stage. Silver is something where you can again pick it up, you can go ahead and fine tune that data, and then it will go to the production grade, that what is exactly reporting you are expecting at the end of the day. So in general, I mean, if I correlate them with those three things, you can simply consider that way, right? So bronze, you will consider that very raw data is coming into system, whereas silver, you can say little bit fine tune, not exactly the production ready data, whereas gold is like you can say, okay, oh yeah, this is like production grade, and here once the data is like finalized, I can connect to my Power BI reporting or my applications or somewhere, right? So you can say that it's like perfectly fine-tuned data which you get it, which exactly expected as the output of your system. So that is something what you can think so, right? So that's how like it's bronze, silver, gold kind of data processing what you can think so. Make sense? Oh yeah, even Navin has mentioned the same thing. Yeah, thanks Navin.
Thank you.
Yeah. So any queries, questions so far? So I see like we are hitting towards the end of the session. So if no further queries or questions, over to you, Rashmita.
Thank you, Jigar. I've enabled the mic for all of you, so just in case if you have any questions, Jigar can take those.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll just give it a minute and see in case anybody has any question.
Thanks, Naveen. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we don't have any more questions. So
Thank you, Kaja. Any example on NoSQL? So Naveen, you mean to say that you are looking for some link, or you just wanted to, can we connect our database to database like notebook? So not straightforward as in database, because it's not a good idea. I mean, if you have a one-to-one integration, then it will be really challenging. But yeah, I mean, you can say that whatever data is incoming and you just wanted to store it somewhere, then definitely that could be one of the activity. But it is always advisable that the way Azure Data Factory is offering input and output, then the input could be anything and output could be also, you can plan your any data structures or storage of it. So you can plan it that way. So rather ingesting directly with the notebook, because notebook has some processing, right? I mean, you don't want that processing directly ingested with your database and all. So it is always fine-tuned data. So that way maybe you can do it. So it is better way to go ahead that way. Yeah, I hope Ravindra that answer your questions. Naveen, I'll do one thing later. Maybe I'll share some particular link with it, and that will, I think, probably I don't have handy right now, but I'll share it with this chat or somewhere, and I can provide those informations to you in that case. Yeah. Bhushan says, can we download or we can see this? Yes, Bhushan, this video will be available on YouTube channel. So definitely you can view that particular video any point of given time. Vijayan says, how do we implement it in production? I mean, what are the tools which we have to use to move the pipeline into production? So basically, I mean, if you are planning with your production grade workload and all, definitely, I mean, as I said that the ADF pipeline, what we are creating. So you have some variety of options. You can create ARM template. You can uh, export your particular pipelines, and that is something you can move it from one layer to another layer, or even you can have your notebooks also to be integrated. So in general, the studio is something well defined, which will helpful to you in terms of taking care of variety of activity. Yeah. Okay. If no further questions, then thank you guys. Thank you so much. Let's connect in another sessions and see you again.
Thank
Thanks
you, Jigar.
for a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jigar, for the session, and thank you all for joining us today. Please do share your feedback about today's session. Also, please feel free to use the Learn module link shared in the chat section. This will give you access to additional resources to take your further learning. Also, please visit our Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru meetup page for more upcoming session. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Rashmita. Bye bye.